Welcome the rare gems. She outgrows versions of herself the way nature sheds seasons, not to forget, but to begin again. The Sigma female is not afraid of change. In fact, she thrives on it. While most people cling to a single version of themselves just to feel secure, she understands that life demands constant evolution. Staying the same for too long feels like pretending. To her, transformation is not a phase, it's a lifestyle. Every time she learns, heals, or gains a new perspective, she allows herself to shift completely. She doesn't resist that process because she knows it's what keeps her real. People may call her unpredictable or hard to understand, but that's only because they've never met someone who refuses to fake consistency. The Sigma female is guided by her inner truth, and the moment that truth evolves, she moves with it. She doesn't owe anyone a permanent version of herself. Her loyalty lies with growth, not comfort. This video is for every Sigma female who's ever been told she's changed. Of course you have. That's what awareness does. You're not unstable, you're awake. You're not restless, you're evolving. So watch till the end, because by the time this video is over, you'll understand why your constant reinvention isn't a weakness to hide. It's your silent proof that you are in tune with your spirit. You don't need to explain your evolution. Just keep becoming, because every time you do, you step closer to who you were truly meant to be. Let's dive into it. The rare gems. Number 1. She doesn't adapt to survive. She evolves to stay aligned. The Sigma female doesn't change just to fit into her surroundings. She changes to stay in tune with herself. There's a huge difference between adapting to survive and evolving to stay aligned. Most people adapt because they fear losing comfort, acceptance, or stability. They bend themselves just enough to remain safe in a world that demands conformity. But the Sigma female plays by another rhythm entirely. When her inner truth shifts, she doesn't suppress it. She listens. She allows that truth to rewrite her path, even if it means walking away from everything familiar. She knows when something in her soul no longer feels right. It could be a job that once inspired her but now drains her. It could be friendships that once felt deep but now sound hollow. Or it could simply be a lifestyle that no longer fits the person she's becoming. Instead of forcing herself to stay just to keep others comfortable, she makes quiet but powerful moves that bring her back into alignment. Her evolution isn't loud. You won't see her announce it, but you'll notice it in her energy, calmer, sharper, more at peace. She doesn't evolve to prove anything. She does it because her spirit refuses to live in a life that no longer matches her truth. People who don't understand her think she's restless or hard to please. But in reality, she's deeply loyal, not to trends or approval, but to her own growth. The moment her inner compass points in a new direction, she follows it without hesitation. That's what makes her rare. She doesn't evolve because life demands it. She evolves because her soul does. Every version of her is a reflection of self-awareness, not survival. She isn't trying to fit in with the world. She's trying to stay in harmony with herself. And that, for a Sigma female, is the truest form of power. Number 2. She treats identity like software, meant to be updated, debugged, and improved, not preserved for nostalgia. The Sigma female doesn't see her identity as something fixed or sacred. To her, it's more like software, constantly being upgraded, fine-tuned, and improved. She doesn't cling to who she was 5 years ago, or even last year, because she knows that version of herself was created for a different time, a different mindset, a different season. Holding on to it would be like trying to run new programs on outdated code. It simply wouldn't work. Most people preserve their identity for nostalgia. They say things like, "This is just who I am," as if that excuses them from growth. But the Sigma female refuses to use her past as a reference for her future. She believes every experience, every heartbreak, every mistake contains data. She studies it, learns from it, and applies the update. When life exposes her weaknesses, she doesn't cover them up with pride. She treats them like bugs in the system, glitches that need understanding, not shame. She will step back, analyze what went wrong, and fix it quietly. And when the next version of her emerges, it's smoother, wiser, and more efficient. This is why she's so unpredictable to others. One moment she's moving in one direction, and before anyone realizes it, she's upgraded again, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's not inconsistency. It's evolution by design. She doesn't fear change because she's the one writing the code. What truly makes her fascinating is her refusal to live in outdated patterns just to keep her identity familiar to others. If she senses that an old mindset is slowing her down, she deletes it. If a past version of herself no longer feels authentic, she rewrites it. She's not trying to be perfect. She's trying to stay real. That's the beauty of the Sigma female. She doesn't worship who she used to be. She builds who she's becoming, one update at a time. Number 3. She understands that comfort is the enemy of self-awareness. The Sigma female has a complicated relationship with comfort. To most people, comfort is the goal. It's where they want to end up after the hard work, the struggles, and the lessons. But to her, comfort is a quiet warning sign. The moment she starts to feel too settled, she knows something inside her has stopped expanding. She's learned that comfort has a way of numbing the mind and softening the edge of awareness. It whispers, "You're fine where you are," while slowly making her forget who she still has the potential to become. She thrives in movement, not chaos, but growth. She's not addicted to drama, she's addicted to evolution. When things become too predictable, she begins to feel disconnected from her purpose. It's not because she's restless or ungrateful, but because she understands that true awareness only sharpens in challenge. Growth happens when the familiar becomes uncomfortable. To her, comfort zones are like invisible cages. They look peaceful, but they quietly limit what she can see and feel. The Sigma female doesn't hate comfort, she just refuses to live in it for too long. She visits it like a resting place, not a permanent home. She knows the moment she gets too cozy, her mind stops asking questions, and her spirit stops paying attention. That's why she keeps pushing herself into new experiences, even when they scare her. She values what discomfort teaches her. Every time she steps into something unfamiliar, she discovers another part of herself that she couldn't meet while staying safe. People often mistake her constant evolution for dissatisfaction, but it's actually awareness. She knows that comfort and awareness rarely live in the same place. While others are content staying the same, she's out there exploring her next level of truth. Because for her, a comfortable life is not the goal. A conscious one is. Number 4. The Sigma female doesn't just go through life, she studies it. Every experience, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every success, all of it becomes part of her education. She doesn't waste pain or repeat lessons. She extracts the meaning from each moment and lets that understanding reshape her. That's why every version of her feels different. She isn't changing for the sake of change. She's simply responding to what life has taught her. She doesn't hold on to a version of herself just because people liked it. She knows when a season has finished its work. When the lesson is done, she thanks it, closes the chapter, and moves forward. It's not coldness, it's emotional intelligence. She understands that holding on to what no longer grows her only creates emotional stagnation. When something breaks her, she doesn't try to glue it back together the same way. She studies the cracks. She asks herself what the experience came to reveal. And once she understands it, she transforms. That's why she never stays down for long. Her evolution is built from reflection, not reaction. People often struggle to keep up with her because she keeps shedding layers that no longer serve her. One day, she's the quiet observer. The next, she's the one speaking up with unshakable clarity. To the outside world, it can seem like she's unpredictable, but in reality, she's just keeping pace with her growth. She doesn't fear endings anymore. Endings are signals to her that something new is ready to begin. She's learned that clinging to what's familiar only delays the arrival of what's next. So when a chapter has taught her all it can, she moves on. Not out of detachment, but out of respect for her own evolution. That's the power of the Sigma female. She doesn't resist life's lessons. She lets them rewrite her. And each time she re-emerges, she's wiser, calmer, and more aligned with who she's truly meant to become. Number 5. She doesn't chase reinvention for attention. The Sigma female doesn't reinvent herself to be noticed. In fact, most of her transformations happen quietly, without announcement or validation. She isn't looking for applause, she's looking for truth. Reinvention for her is not a show, it's a necessity. When she senses she's outgrown a mindset, a dream, or even a version of herself, she can't pretend it still fits. Staying the same when her spirit has already evolved feels like living in someone else's skin. It's not discomfort she feels, it's dishonesty. She sees authenticity as her oxygen. The moment she realizes she's just repeating motions or maintaining an image to make others comfortable, something inside her starts to rebel. She knows that staying static doesn't make her loyal, it makes her disconnected. Every part of her being demands alignment, and that means constant renewal. To outsiders, her changes might seem random or excessive, a new passion, a shift in energy, a change in direction. But to her, these transitions are sacred. Each transformation represents another layer of truth uncovered, another illusion released. She doesn't reinvent herself for shock value. She does it because pretending to be the same person when she's not feels like betraying her soul. There's a certain peace that comes from this kind of honesty. She's not performing. She's aligning. She's not restless. She's realigning her life with what her soul currently understands. That's why she walks away from things that once mattered, not because they were worthless, but because they've already served their purpose. The Sigma female would rather face uncertainty than live a life that feels fake. Reinvention is her way of breathing. It's her soul's natural rhythm, to shed, to rebuild, to rise again. She doesn't chase change for attention. She does it because truth is the only thing she refuses to outgrow. Number 6. Her identity doesn't live in what she does, but in what she's learning to become. The Sigma female doesn't build her identity around what she does or what she owns. Those things change too easily, and she knows they don't define who she really is. Her sense of self lives in what she's learning to become, not in the titles she holds or the boxes society tries to place her in. To her, identity is not a finished product. It's a continuous unfolding. Every day she's peeling back layers, questioning old beliefs and refining her understanding of who she is at her core. While most people chase achievements as proof of growth, she measures progress differently. For her, growth isn't about collecting trophies or recognition. It's about awareness, that quiet moment when she realizes she has outgrown a mindset, healed from an old wound, or responded differently to something that used to shake her. Those invisible victories matter to her more than any visible success ever could. She knows achievements can be taken away, but awareness cannot. It becomes part of her, shaping how she thinks, feels, and chooses. That's why she invests more in her inner evolution than in external validation. She would rather lose a title than lose touch with her truth. This is what makes her mysterious to others. They see someone who doesn't chase status or compete for attention, yet she keeps evolving, becoming deeper and more grounded. What they don't realize is that she's playing a different game entirely, one where awareness is the real currency and peace of mind is the ultimate prize. The Sigma female's greatest ambition isn't to appear successful, but to be conscious, self-aware, and aligned. She's not chasing perfection, she's mastering presence, because she knows the moment she stops learning who she's becoming, she stops truly living. Number 7. She knows repetition numbs the spirit. The Sigma female has an inner radar that senses when her life starts running on autopilot. She can feel it before anyone else notices. It's that quiet boredom that seeps in when everything feels too predictable, when every day starts blending into the next. For most people, that kind of repetition feels safe. But for her, it feels like her soul is falling asleep. She knows that when her spirit starts to yawn, it's not rest she needs, it's change. She understands that repetition is sneaky. It gives the illusion of peace, but underneath, it slowly drains the life out of you. It makes you stop questioning, stop exploring, stop feeling alive. The Sigma female refuses to live in that kind of quiet numbness. She would rather face uncertainty than feel emotionally sedated by routine. When she senses her energy fading, she doesn't panic. She listens. That's her signal that something in her life needs to evolve. Maybe a habit, a belief, or even the people around her. She knows that when her soul starts yawning, it's not boredom. It's her inner truth calling her to move forward. This is why she often changes direction when others least expect it. It's not instability, it's intuition. She understands that staying in a cycle that no longer stimulates her spirit is like keeping a bird in a cage and wondering why it stops singing. For the Sigma female, passion and purpose must stay alive. She needs to feel mentally awake and spiritually engaged. So she listens to that subtle inner fatigue, not as frustration, but as guidance. Every time she changes course, she's not escaping life, she's reigniting it. Because she knows the real danger isn't chaos or risk. It's the slow, quiet death that comes from doing the same thing for too long. Number 8. She doesn't confuse loyalty with limitation. The Sigma female understands that loyalty is a beautiful thing, but only when it doesn't come at the expense of her own evolution. She doesn't confuse being loyal with staying limited. While most people hold on to old versions of themselves just to seem consistent, she refuses to do that. She knows when a version of herself has served its purpose. When it starts feeling too small for who she's becoming, she lets it go without hesitation and without guilt. To her, loyalty means staying true to her growth, not clinging to outdated identities or habits just to make others comfortable. She's loyal to her inner truth, not to the image others have of her. That's why she moves differently. If a lifestyle, a belief, or even a relationship begins to confine her spirit, she quietly steps away. Not because she's cold or ungrateful, but because she knows that staying limited to prove loyalty is just another way of betraying herself. The world often tries to guilt her into staying the same. People say things like, "You've changed," as if that's an insult. But she smiles at that. Of course she's changed. That was the whole point. She understands that personal evolution isn't disloyalty, it's integrity. Every time she sheds an old version of herself, she honors the lesson it brought her, then walks forward lighter and wiser. She doesn't need permission to evolve or apology for outgrowing what no longer fits. That's the quiet strength of the Sigma female. She knows that true loyalty isn't about staying the same. It's about remaining faithful to the truth of who she's becoming. And sometimes that truth demands walking away from the familiar to protect what's real within her. Number 9. Her growth offends those who only feel safe around familiar versions of her. The Sigma female understands a truth that most people avoid. Growth always comes with a price, and often that price is connection. Every time she grows, she notices the distance that forms between herself and those who only understood her older versions. It's not that she's trying to outgrow anyone, it's just that her spirit refuses to shrink back into who she used to be just to keep others comfortable. Her evolution tends to unsettle people who depend on predictability. They liked her better when she was easier to read, easier to manage, and easier to categorize. They miss the version of her that needed validation, that stayed quiet, that played small. But that version no longer exists. The Sigma female has learned that when her growth starts to offend people, it's not a sign she's doing something wrong. It's proof she's changing in ways they can't follow. She doesn't beg people to understand her new depth. She doesn't over-explain her transformation. She accepts that evolution naturally filters her circle. The ones meant to grow with her will adjust. The ones who don't will drift away. And she's at peace with that. What others see as distance, she sees as alignment. She's not walking away to be cold. She's walking forward to stay truthful. The Sigma female has outgrown the need to be understood by everyone. She knows that the cost of staying authentic is often the loss of approval, so she lets go gracefully. No bitterness, no resentment, just quiet acceptance, because she realizes that keeping connections that demand her to stay small would be far more painful than losing them. Her growth may cost her some people, but it always rewards her with freedom. And to her, that trade is always worth it. Number 10. She keeps evolving because she refuses to become a museum of past identities. The Sigma female doesn't live her life as a display of who she used to be. She's not interested in being admired for her past versions, no matter how strong, graceful, or accomplished they were. She refuses to become a museum of past identities, frozen in time, repeating old stories that no longer represent her truth. Instead, she treats her life like a laboratory of self-discovery, always experimenting, always exploring, always testing what feels authentic now. She knows that the moment she stops questioning herself, she stops growing. For her, life isn't about proving consistency. It's about finding honesty. Every new experience, every challenge, every mistake becomes an experiment that teaches her something deeper about who she is. She doesn't fear change, she studies it. She treats every stage of her evolution as valuable data, not a crisis to survive. People who cling to their old identities often do so because they crave security. But the Sigma female finds security in movement. She would rather keep discovering herself than live trapped in a version that no longer fits just because it once earned her respect. She knows that even her most powerful past selves can become outdated if they stop evolving with her awareness. Her life is a work in progress. Not because she's lost, but because she's curious. She's constantly breaking down her beliefs, analyzing her reactions, and refining her understanding of what truly matters. It's not chaos, it's conscious reinvention. That's what makes her so alive. She's not trying to preserve who she was, she's trying to discover who she's becoming. Every experiment brings her closer to her truth, and every discovery deepens her freedom. The Sigma female would rather be a living experiment than a lifeless exhibit, because to her, evolution is not just natural, it's sacred. In final words, you don't owe the world a permanent version of yourself. The Sigma female understands this truth better than anyone. She refuses to be the same person for too long, because she knows that growth doesn't happen in stillness. Every stage of her life demands a different version of her, and she's brave enough to answer that call. Where others cling to familiarity, she dares to evolve. She doesn't see change as losing herself. She sees it as meeting herself more deeply. Her constant transformation isn't rebellion, it's honesty. She can't pretend to be who she was yesterday if today she understands life differently. That awareness is her superpower. It's what keeps her from becoming numb, what keeps her spirit alive, what separates her from those who only live for approval. The Sigma female's journey is not about perfection or predictability. It's about authenticity. Yes, her evolution will confuse people. Some will leave, others will criticize, and many will misunderstand. But she doesn't take it personally. She knows that people who fear change will always question those who embody it. Still, she moves, quietly, deliberately, and fearlessly, because for her, nothing is worth more than living in truth. To every Sigma female listening, never apologize for your evolution. You are not inconsistent. You are aware. You are not lost. You are expanding. The world may try to freeze you in a version that makes them comfortable, but your purpose is not to stay small for their understanding. Your purpose is to keep growing, keep questioning, keep becoming. So evolve without hesitation. Transform without fear. And remember, the fact that you can't stay the same is not a flaw. It's proof that you are fully, wildly, and beautifully alive. Thank you for watching The Rare Gems, and God bless you.